And I believe we are. Yes, we are live, Marc. I believe we are. So, hey everyone, and welcome to World Conservation Summits. My name is Tanja Andersen, and I am your host. And today we finally have a beautiful being, Marc, with us, that is the co-founder and significant, oh my God, that word, director of Hunton. Oh my God, some of the words is like, how do I say the word? It's just so interesting. The words is so different in my mouth. So Marc is a co-founder of this amazing organization that is called Hutton. Do I say the organization's name right, Marc?
Yeah, Ancrenaz.
Oh my God, Ancrenaz. Ancrenaz. You
Yeah.
spell it like Hutan.
Oh,
Right?
Utan. Sorry. Utan.
Hutan. Oh, Hutan.
Utan. Sorry.
So Hutton is a community-based organizations that really work on the ground with what is going on with the wildlife and also how we really can protect it. What I really love about Hutton is really the way they engage the public, but more based on what the people down there like, really like educate them in how they can protect wildlife, and they really like invite people to be part of it in different ways. They really like also focus like coexist, like how can the humanity and the human coexist with wildlife, because there's different ways how we can do it. They do it on very like base level, like where every people can choose whatever they choose to be part of it, no matter where the person is. So, Marc, please share a little bit about this amazing Hutton organization and also a little bit about who you are and where you start, because this is a way back, like this organization is over 30 years old. So there's a organization that have been here for a long time.
Yeah. Hi, Tanya. Hi, everyone. So, yes, my name is Marc Ancrenaz. I am from France originally. So, yes, I am the co-founder of Utan. So, Utan is a French NGO that we created, Isabelle Latman and myself, in 1994. Since the very beginning, our interest was to look at how people and wildlife can coexist together, meaning sharing the same place where they live. Why? Let me give you a bit of background about myself. I am a wildlife veterinarian by training, and I started to work in Africa with gorillas, chimpanzees, and other wildlife. Then I moved to Saudi Arabia, where I was in charge of the Arabian Oryx reintroduction program for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. What I realized very early in my career is that in many places, if you want to find wildlife, you have to move away from people. And if you stay close to where people are living, most of the time you don't find most wildlife. But when we look at the state of the world today, we are more and more people on the planet. It's true that we have a lot of protected areas, but they are fragmented. And species with large range, like large mammals, birds, and so forth, they are not constrained to the network of protected areas. It will happen sooner or later that they leave the places that are protected and they enter places that are dominated by people and human activities. So 30 years ago, coexistence with wildlife was not really in the agenda of conservation, but Isabel and I were really thinking hard about this, and we were thinking it might be very, very interesting to find a place where we could demonstrate that it's possible for people and wildlife to share the same habitat. So with this in mind, we created Hutan. In 94, we visited Sabah. So Sabah is a Malaysian part of Borneo Island. Borneo is in Southeast Asia. It's a large island, the third largest island in the world. But this island is very particular in a way that it's split in three different countries. One part belongs to Malaysia, one part belongs to Indonesia, Kalimantan, and one part belongs to Brunei. So we are located in Sabah, which is a Malaysian state on the island. So back then, 30 years ago, we visited Sabah. We found this place, a village actually called Sukau, located along a river called Kinabatangan. And here we were really surprised to see that you have a bit of forest, a lot of human activities. The landscape has changed a lot over the past 50 years, but still, this place is a hotspot for biodiversity, and I'm sure we will speak more later about this. And there is a lot of human communities. So we thought this is a perfect place for us to start this project and to see how coexistence can happen. So as Tanja said, we are a community-based conservation. We started very small, like 4 or 5 researchers and research assistant conservationists. As of today, it's more than 120 people working at Hutan. And what we really believe in is that to do conservation, you need to involve the local communities, not only involve them passively, but they need to become the guardians of their biodiversity, the conservationists of tomorrow. So our approach at Hutan is to really engage and work with the local communities to be able to protect the natural resources and the wildlife that we are interested in.
Amazing. And the topic Marc and we will talk about is the lessons learned through better coexistence, or the last 35 years, what they have learned. So I'm curious to know, Marc, around your organizations, like what is happening out there? Like the big questions is, a lot of people see different things on social media and they would like to know like what is exactly happened down there, because 30 years ago is so different compared to what is down there right now in the human connection with wildlife, or being in wildlife. So what is some challenge that you as organization is facing down there?
Okay, the important part to remind is what I said earlier. This island is split in 3 countries. The stage of development, the stage of conservation as well, is very different between Malaysia, between Brunei, and between Indonesia. So I'm going to talk about what I know the most, Sabah, the Malaysian part of the island. So very briefly, and I'm going to give you an idea of what happened in Sabah and what is the situation today. So Malaysia, they became independent in 1963. At this time, timber activities were already ongoing in the state, but of course, after independence, timber activities really skyrocketed. And a lot of the forest in Malaysia have been exploited for timber. 60s, 70s, until the mid 80s, a lot of timber was cut down and exported. Then after that, because the timber resources were gone, the government of Malaysia decided to convert the very disturbed forest into agriculture. So at the beginning, they would plant cocoa, they would plant coconut, they would plant pepper and stuff. But very soon, they realized that one commodity brings more revenue. Of course, this is oil palm produced for oil. Of course, we'll come back to that as well. So in the 90s and 2000s, there was a lot of forest conversion for palm oil production. But most of this forest had already been exploited very heavily before. So it's not that a lot of primary forests were converted, not at all. The forests were already trashed by past activities. When we started the work in 1998, at this time, scientists and conservationists didn't realize that disturbed forest is important for wildlife. Okay, a lot of people were convinced that we needed to protect primary forest, which of course I agree with. And they were also convinced that once the forest is exploited for timber, it's no use for wildlife. So of course, the government of Sabah, of Malaysia, they were thinking along the line that if this forest has lost its timber resources and it's no use for wildlife, well, better convert it into agriculture. So the first challenge we met was to convince the state government otherwise, to tell them, look, even if the forest is disturbed, this is still very important for wildlife and biodiversity. So the first questions we wanted to address was how orangutan is able to adapt and to survive in degraded forest. I'm not going to go into the details, but 30 years of research at Bhutan shows that, of course, orangutan is able to survive and to adapt to disturbed forest. Actually, I would say that forests that have been exploited for timber are more productive in terms of food resources for wildlife than a primary forest. So orangutans can survive in disturbed forest. Of course, to a certain level, if all the trees are destroyed and there is nothing left, they won't. But they can really withstand a certain level of disturbance and exploitation as long as hunting is not an issue. The other thing we did was to organize a survey across the entire state of Sabah. And we were able to show with this survey that in Sabah alone, we had a minimum of 11,000 orangutans. The official number at this time were 600 individuals. So it's not
600.
600. Yeah, this was because in Sabah, before Bhutan started to operate our work, there was very little information available about the conservation status of the orangutan in the state. I mean, as you know, I mean, surveying orangutan, estimating population size is very complicated. It takes a lot of time. So the surveys didn't exist. So what we did was to design a new technique, a new method. We use actually helicopters, so we can cover a huge area. To make it short, we were able to show to the government that this 11,000 orangutan, for most of them, for the vast majority of them, they were living in disturbed forests that were not protected at this time and that were under threat to be converted to oil palm plantation. Most of this population, as of today, have been protected. So today we still have about 10, 11,000 orangutans in the state, and 80% of them are living within the network of protected areas. The state government has recently protected 30%, 30% of their landmass. So Sabah has done an amazing work of protection, and most of the new areas that have been gazetted as protected forest are forests with orangutans. So the orangutan population in the state today is mostly protected. But of course, it's not that simple. A lot of these protected areas are fragmented. So fragmentation of the habitat, fragmentation of the population is becoming the number one threat for orangutan in Sabah. Let me just briefly speak about Indonesia now, Kalimantan. The situation is different in Kalimantan. In Kalimantan, we have two major issues happening now. The first one is hunting. There are still places in Kalimantan where local communities kill orangutan, either for meat, as simple as that, or for the pet trade, or because the orangutan are destroying or creating damages to their crops. And the other problems we have in Kalimantan, in Indonesia, is forest conversion. There is still a lot of deforestation happening in Indonesia because, of course, they are still developing the land. Having said that, if we look at satellite images, that's something we do quite regularly with our teams and my colleagues. Even in Indonesia, the rate of deforestation is going down. Okay, so meaning that in a few years, Indonesia will have reached the same level where Malaysia is today, and deforestation will stop. But for the time being in Indonesia, we still lose orangutans. Back to Sabah now. So in Sabah right now, as I said, 30% of the forest, of the landmass is protected. Overall, 50%, so half of the state is still covered with forest, and this is where all the orangutans are found. But back to the fragmentation, the problem we see more and more is that sometimes, and actually more and more often, species like orangutans, other species like elephants and stuff like that, they leave the network of protected areas to cross the landscape. And they end up, as we said earlier, in places dominated by people. Hence the need to work on this coexistence concept. So if you come to Sabah, you will be surprised to see that, of course, there's a lot of oil palm plantation. I think it's
I saw that.
yeah. It's about 25% of the landmass. But here again, we cannot forget that 30% of the forest is protected, of the landmass, so mostly forest, is also protected. So this is quite good, actually. It's better than in my own country, France, I guess, Denmark. You're from Denmark, I think, Tanja. I mean, in Sabah, they have really done their job properly, and the forests here are pretty well protected. So I would say, if maybe you want to know that, orangutan is not going to go extinct, at least not in Sabah. The populations now are stable.
That is good news.
Yeah, it's a good news and something that we cannot forget. And that's why I always make the distinction between Malaysia and Indonesia, where the stage of development is different. So in Indonesia, we are still losing orangutans, but they also have protected areas, protected populations. So even in Indonesia, we know that we are losing orangutans, but some populations are protected. But the problem is that we are still losing orangutans there. In Sabah, the population is stable and is going to go up slowly. I say slowly because, as we know, orangutan is a very slow breeding species. In average, they produce a baby every 8 years.
8 years? Every 8 years?
Yeah. And knowing that the female lifespan is about 45, 50 years, in average, a female will produce 4 babies in her lifespan if everything goes well. So as you can imagine, the growth of a population is very, very, very slow. It's very easy and very fast to destroy a population, but for the population to build back the number will take time. But the good news is, don't believe people who say, oh, in 10 years, 20 years, orangutan will be gone. It's not true. We're going to lose some population in Kalimantan, I mean, in Indonesia. This is most certain. But Sabah, Sarawak, the Malaysian state of Malaysia, of Borneo, populations are stable. I have to be honest, and even if we have, let's say, 10,000 orangutan here in the state of Sabah, it represents maybe 10% of the original population of orangutan in our state. So 200 years ago, we had maybe 100,000 orangutans. So we have lost a lot, it's true, and we can see that with genetic. But here again, what is lost is lost. So it's too late to act. But the good news is that these orangutan in Sabah so far are doing okay. So this is, for me, it's really, it's hopeful. Okay.
Yeah.
Something else I want, sorry, Tanja, something else I want to add, because a lot of time people don't realize that we cannot blame only the oil palm industry, for example, for the orangutan demise. Actually, what we know now is that when people arrived in Borneo, so now I'm speaking about 60,000 years ago, they came to Borneo and they started to hunt. And actually, the orangutan decline started as soon as people came to Borneo, started tens of thousands years ago. So the decline has been very long. And here again, when the new predator came, Homo sapiens, this orangutan had to adapt to the new predator, okay? So for 60,000, orangutan and people have coexisted. There was a co-evolution process.
Yeah.
But of course, a lot of population have been lost even before timber exploitation, even before oil palm and agriculture development.
Yeah, it's also like also what you shared, that it's not only about the palm insert, like the palm company that is destroying everything. Like there's also like the people that's hunting. There's so many like, why is the orangutan close to extinct? that is not true, as you also tell us. Like, it's just so interesting, like that is in the news, as you also share about, like in few years into the future, the orangutan will extinct if we don't do something. Like, I love when you share that that is not the facts, because that a lot of the news as you out there is all about fear. And some organizations put fear out there so that they get more funds or get more views, instead of really sharing what is the facts, like what is happening right now, what has happened, what is happening, and what do we get to do so that we really create a stronger coexist with wildlife and still have a good life as a human being.
So yeah, sorry. So to be very clear, orangutan as a species, I don't think is going to be extinct anytime
No,
soon. But as I said earlier, some population have been lost, and
sure.
some population are really facing risk of extinction, but not the species overall, you see.
Yeah,
So
true.
we are and we are going to lose more orangutan, especially in Indonesia. This is true. So when you hear news
Of
about
course.
some population getting extinct, it's true in some
Ah,
places.
okay. Like that.
But when
Okay.
you hear that the species is going to be extinct, this is not the reality.
That is a good like knowledge to
Yeah.
out there to know like what is the species, what is the populations. Like, there's different things in it. I did not know that. Of course, there's different kind of species of the orangutan that I know of. So Mark, like how like people out there, it's also important to create hope, and it's also most important to the audience out there to also know like what can the audience do to be part of the like coexist, or
Okay.
where do people get to have the right information instead of just because when we like the news is so focused on fear, most people just like STEM because they also have different kind of fear or trauma or different kind of things in life, and they choose to say no to do something because they don't want more of our that in life. So what can a person choose to do by the actions they're doing to really create actions on the hope there is in coexist with wildlife?
Okay. So actually, the issue of coexistence is not only about orangutans. So there are a few things that people can do, and I'm going to go through that. I firmly believe that, as I said earlier, a lot of species, and not only in Borneo, in Africa, in Europe,
Of
in
course, the whole
America,
world.
in Australia,
Yeah,
they are going to live closer and closer to people, not
yeah,
because they like it, but because people are expanding. So that's
yeah,
why the concept of conservation is so important. The problems we face here with species like orangutans, elephants, crocodiles, monkeys, and stuff is actually the same problem that people are facing all over the world. So, of course, in Denmark, for example, you are not facing a problem of coexistence with orangutan or elephants, but you have
oh,
other wildlife that are
sure.
coming into people's towns, cities, village, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
wow,
always
yeah,
say it's unfair to ask people to share the same habitat with species like tigers, lion, orangutan, gorillas, if we don't do the same at home. My point here being coexistence applies everywhere to everything. If at home we are not able to live with the small spiders or whatever wildlife that comes into our home, why would we accept or think that other people, other nations need to share the space with big species? My point is coexistence starts at home. It's something that everyone can think about and can improve. And so it started to rain here. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you hear it, but wow. So
oh my
yeah.
God. When I was down in Borneo, there was like, I was like, I want to experience the jungle. Like, how can I get myself on the biggest channels of the mom? Okay, Borneo, like jungle down there. I'm going there. And I did not know how much leeches there was in the raining season. There was like, I have leeches on me every day. It was crazy.
So yeah, so coexistence is something that all of us can play a role too. I mean, seriously, we need to stop spraying our garden, our backyard, our house, and try to find ways to cohabit with the small species, the big species.
Exactly.
The other thing, I guess, which is very important to understand is that it's easy to blame, let's say, the oil palm industry for the demise of the species. Fair enough, they are responsible for some decline, but not only. Something I find very disturbing myself is to look at social media, to look at so many posts where you see people and wildlife together. And to me, this is really bad because this gives a very bad information, a bad message. So please, something that is easy to do, you could take selfie of you with animals if you like it, but don't share that in the social media because sharing this kind of idea is really promoting the wildlife trade. Some people don't know anything about wildlife. They see a cute baby orangutan, a cute soloris, a cute whatever, and they say, okay, I want one at home. And this is a bad idea. And wildlife trade is really an issue for many species, including orangutan,
Crazy.
especially in Indonesia.
So
Something,
when
yeah, yeah.
when you share about that, that's very interesting. You know, maybe know that, Mark. There is some pictures out there and small clips and video of me. I have two Rosa character with me. So when I was joining down in Guatemala and work with organizations down there in the jungle, the the funder or the person who was out down there says like, do you know what is happening down here when you are like sharing a picture with your parrots? I was like, no. It's like, yes, of course, the Rosa character is not coming from Guatemala. The Amazon is coming down there. So when I was sharing beforehand pictures and videos of my birds, the people down there go out in the jungle to put lime on the sticks so that the parents, the female and the male, can sit on the branches and glues on the stick so that they can go to take the egg. Or the small birds like, I have no clue. It's like, yeah. So no matter what wild animals it is, or you call it as a pet, as a parrot, please don't share it because people all over the globe, there is different kind of parrots in the wild nature in the jungle, and they just want a parrot because they think it's fun, and they're going out there and really doing damage. And also other stuff is happening to the like wildlife trade, like different ways to kill the parents, like the female and the male to get the small the parrots, and it's horrible what is happening out down there. It's crazy.
So yeah, so social media can be a very good tool to
Of
raise
course.
awareness, but at the same time, it's highly detrimental to wildlife these days. So yeah, as you said, Tanya, please, I mean, maybe most of you who are listening to this podcast know that already, but spread the word with the people who don't really know about wildlife, but they find a parrot cute or a primate cute and they post these kind of pictures. It's really bad for
Really.
wildlife. I would also say, to be honest, that conservationists themselves, they should be much more careful. Too often I see professionals who
Yeah.
are showing pictures of them with wildlife because if this is their work. But the
Of
problem
course.
here again, we spread a wrong message. And this is something everybody can act on. It's very simple. Even if you take this kind of pictures for you, fine, just keep that for you. No need to
Yeah.
put that on social media.
Yeah, it's just interesting because of course there's different way why a person like take a selfie with the animals or whatever the animals is doing on the picture. When most of people that share that as me in the past want like to be seen, to be heard, and to get like or get comments so that I can feel good about myself. Of course, that's coming from a place that is not healed. So as Mark saying, please keep it for yourself because no matter if you take you in the zoo, I don't support most zoo to be honest. If you go to the zoo, if you don't choose to go out down and experience organizations that's in the field, as I will invite everyone to do, just do that, support organizations that's in the field. If you take a picture in a zoo, it doesn't matter what kind of picture it is just giving a bad point of view on people out there. Like, will be aware about like what is on the picture, why do we post it, and just keep it for yourself. You don't need likes and comments. Like, keep it for yourself and take a picture of yourself where there's trees and bushes behind you, instead of take a picture of zoo animals or wild animals or your parrots. Like, really be aware about like what are you putting out there, because that gets to be stopped, because the effect they're doing all over the globe is so damage to wildlife.
Yeah, very true. So it's something that is simple enough to do. So as I said, promoting coexistence at home where you live. Be careful about what you post. Something else I would like to touch on very quickly, because it's a very, very difficult and complicated debate, oil palm. So briefly, I really believe in certification. We are not going to stop oil palm, okay? Because palm oil is very useful, and the entire globe, the humankind, us, we need it, okay? And
Yeah.
if you think that you don't want palm oil, but you take another vegetable oil like soy, olive oil, or whatever, you know what? The impact of this production sometimes is even worse than palm oil. So we have to be honest. We need vegetable oil, fine. Oil palm is a very good commodity to produce palm oil. I am not paid by the industry to say that. These are facts. Um, the thing is, the problem is not oil palm. The problem is management. So there is a certification body called RSPO, Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. And although this is not perfect, I know there is still a lot of problems with RSPO, but I have seen myself being here in Malaysia for 30 years now, the improvement brought by this certification process. So as consumer, I would tell you, people, please don't boycott palm oil, because it won't help us. If you really want to help orangutan, just look for certified products. And this is actually sending a very strong message to this industry, that if they want to keep exporting their commodity, well, they need to improve their management to at least reach the RSPO standards. And here again, I would say that if we look at certification processes, the one we have set up for the oil palm industry is far better than the one for soy, for olive, for maize, for whatever other commodity producing vegetable oil. Here again, I don't say that to excuse anything. I am just very pragmatic.
Yeah.
I personally prefer to see an oil palm plantation and a soy plantation. I was lucky enough to go to Brazil a few years ago. Oh my gosh. The production of soy, mostly for cattle, has destroyed most of the Amazonia. And people don't realize it. The impact of this kind of commodities is far worse than oil palm production. So this
It's
is
just,
kind of, yeah.
so go for it, Mark.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to say these are kind of things people need to be careful about, because in the news sometimes you see a lot of stuff, you read a lot of articles, but please check your facts. Check what people say, because there is a lot, I would say, nonsense sometimes relayed by the media, and this gives a completely wrong image to the public. And seriously enough, this doesn't help us here to protect the orangutan.
It's just so interesting, because like, as you talk about like the palm oil industry, like the world around palm oil is just like the news here in Denmark is so like it's destroying the world, or what about the soy? I should talk about like the soy is doing so much more damage compared to the palm oil, and so like it's just so interesting. Like, will it be like, you can hear news out there, see something on social media, please go to the facts or go to the organization or ask questions, instead of you choose to believe whatever you see on social media or hear in the news. So go to organizations as Houghton, and to really get the properly education by, okay, what do we get to choose and why do we not get to choose that thing, because there's so many opportunities how you also really can choose with awareness, and be like, how can you coexist is also like your lifestyle, what you choose or to eat, because what we support we support the whole process. So if I go out and buy something that's like, okay, the stands is good and all that, yeah, what is the process behind? Like, what is the first step that's making to so that you can have that on your plate or so that you can have that on your skin? Like, where does it come from? Because what you buy, you support the whole process. What you eat, what you have on your skin, what you have in your home, how you're traveling, you support the whole process.
Yeah, to finish on this topic, I know that especially in Europe or even North America, right now the coconut oil or the avocado oil is very sexy. A lot of people want
Yeah, it's
this.
really
Yeah.
hot topic.
Yeah, well, I am part of a group working for the IUCN. We just released an assessment of the impact of the different varieties of vegetable oil on wildlife. Well, when you look at the impact of coconut oil only and the impact of avocado oil, this is super duper bad. As I said, it's even worse than oil palm. The problem with oil palm is that when you come to Malaysia or Indonesia, you see this
Yeah,
sea of
big
palm. It's very
fields.
impressive to
Also in
see.
the
Yeah.
airplane, it's just huge areas.
So it's true there are problems here, and we try to tackle this. But don't think my message is very simple. Don't think that if you don't choose palm oil, it's okay, everything is fine. No, it's not true. Whatever we take, there is a problem with it. So then it's more, the issue to me is more to be aware of all of this, and then you take your choice, you take a decision knowing the real facts. I'm not trying to convince you guys to eat or use palm oil, not
No,
at all. I just
I
want
know,
to stress out that whatever choice we make as a consumer
of
has an
course.
impact. So after that, I don't say neither we shouldn't consume anything. Of course, we have to,
Yeah,
but it's important to know that there is not a silver bullet that is going to fix everything. So boycott is not an option,
no, 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 no. It's
at least for palm oil.
yeah, yeah, and that is also a way like to that is really how can you coexist? There's so many ways how you can coexist with wildlife and protect the diversity, the environment by like the lifestyle you're choosing and also the information you're sharing out there, as Mark also talked, like the picture you're sharing out there, like have a bigger impact that you know that is happening out there. Because it's not only your friends that see in your picture, other people that don't follow you or see you, like on the other side, they see what is happening and what you're posting. So really be aware about it. So that is definitely three actions. You really can coexist with wildlife and also really protect the biodiversity because when we destroy the biodiversity, it's Mark, the last point I would like to know, like when there's information out there where the biodiversity is cut down, like is like the field is destroyed, like the trees up, the bushes up, like everything up, and they start to like make more, like make new rainforests, like really plant some trees and bushes that's alongside the wild jungle. Like what is happening with biodiversity when that is happening and new solutions is come to build new rainforests?
Okay. So actually, it's an interesting question. In Sabah, as I said, there is not much deforestation happening. Actually, we are in a phase where the government, NGOs, companies are restoring the habitat. It's really the same process than in Europe, in the Western countries, where we destroyed most of our most of our forest in the past for development. And now, of course, in Europe, we are trying to protect, to restore. Well, this is where we are now in Malaysia. Again, Indonesia is different. They are still opening up the forest. So let's speak about Sabah. So
Yeah,
what we do here is I was talking about fragmentation. So there are several initiatives, some by the government, some by NGOs, including UTAN, including Danau Gerang. I know that Danau Gerang was one of your guests in the past. The idea is to identify places that are crucial for wildlife to move from one forest to the next and to convince the owner to release that land for conservation. So at Utan, we have finalized one corridor for wildlife already, and we are working on another three. So to answer your question, Tanya, what we do, we have teams of ladies from the village that have been trained to propagate trees in tree nurseries, to plant the trees, and of course, to maintain the seedlings that we are planted. Because a lot of time people think that planting a tree is great. They just forget that if there is no maintenance, the seedlings will die. So the maintenance at our restoration sites lasts at least 3 years. And
Oh, wow.
by doing this, we maintain a 80% survival rate. Without any maintenance, everything dies. So what we do ourselves, we plant the trees and we monitor what's going on. Well, you would be surprised to see how fast animals come back. After a few years only, we have orangutans, sun bear, elephants, a lot of species are using these corridors as soon as the trees start growing. So it's never too late to restore an habitat. The only problem is that it takes time and it takes a lot of money, of course, because yeah, it's expensive to do that. So here again, I want to be hopeful that it's possible to fix some of the problems, not all, of course, unfortunately. But right now, one of our priorities at UTAN is to really try to address this issue of fragmentation. If you give a chance to nature, nature is very resilient, actually. Nature
We
will
can
come
learn
back.
we can learn so much from nature, just being nature, by our own our
Yeah.
own journey, our healing, really nature provide us with so many things. And also nature is really healing by itself to be in nature, because there is some stuff in nature that's going up in our brain and taking stuff out of our brain. So nature is really resilience, and we can really learn about how can we protect nature, how can we protect wildlife, and really take that learning into your own life to be a person that is more resilient in your own life with their own challenges and changing and lifestyle choices by learning about nature.
Yeah, fully agree. And here again, what we said earlier, I think that as consumers, we are all part of the general issue of climate change
Yeah,
or biodiversity crisis. Of course, yes.
yeah,
But matter of choice, we can also all be part of the solution. And here again, it's just what you said. I agree with that. It starts at home. It starts with our daily choices.
exactly. Yeah, I love that. So the last thing, Mark, what is the one thing that you would like the audience to go with, to say to them? What is the one thing that you would like the audience to go with from all this amazing stuff we have talked about?
Here again, I know that it's all doom and gloom in the media all the time, but we cannot forget, first, nature is resilient, so there is still hope. It's not too late to act. Second thing, we just talked about it. Everybody can make a difference. You don't have to become a conservationist or wildlife veterinarian and spend your entire life overseas. Everybody can make a difference where we are. The other thing, there is not an easy fix and a fast fix. So this is something also we need to realize. So it's very important to know the facts. And it's true that it's becoming more and more difficult to get the truth about all what is happening in this world. But to me, it's very essential, because if not, we are led to make choices that are counterproductive sometimes. So this is important. And if, let's say, I would like to speak a little bit about orangutans. So orangutans, we all know what it is. And actually, this orangutan, I've been spending 30 years of my life with them. Okay, wild. Huh? I don't work with rehabilitation. I don't really believe in rehabilitation for orangutan or
Oh, really?
translocation. Yeah, to me, it doesn't work. Uh, no, I mean, there is still a lot of wild orangutans to protect. So this is my priority, the wild one. Well, they're super resilient, and they have showed me that these guys, I mentioned that earlier to you, they have been co-evolving with people for 60,000 years, okay? They know how to coexist with us. The question is not really if they can, because they can. The question is, are we ready as people to coexist with them? And if we give them a little chance, I tell you, they will be okay. We are following orangutans now that are really living in our village, in the plantation. They are leaving the forest, actually, to live very close to people because there is food and they feel safe. This is possible only if people don't shoot them. And this is the same for everything. Coexistence is possible only if we accept it, only if we don't kill the small spider or the mice that is coming too close to us. So the issue we have with orangutan is the same issue we have with spiders or whatever. So here again, that's why I say this, to me, if we, as a species, if we cannot reconcile our lives and our way of living with coexistence, I don't think that there is a real hope for the long term, because more and more species, as I said, will come close to us anyway. But if we are smart enough and humble enough to accept this coexistence, I tell you, a lot of species will adapt and adjust to us. It's not a problem at all. The question, once again, I repeat myself, is are we ready? And it's true that depends on some days I'm very positive, some days, depending on what I read in the news, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's very, very, very tough. But bottom line, I mean, I have done conservation for my entire life. And I, as you can imagine, sometimes it's very depressing because we try to protect the forest, we try to protect the animals, and we see the forest being destroyed, the animal being killed. It's very tough. But I
Wow.
still want to believe that there is hope. And it really
Yeah.
starts, us, all of us, not only the conservationists.
Yeah. It's oh my God, so good. And it's also like touch base on like it is possible, and it's also important you are there who you choose, what is the community you choose to be in, because if you choose to be in a community with people that's like, oh, like when we talk about spider, like, oh, that's spider, and they kill the spider, it's just like, no, like what have the spider done to you since you choose to kill it? No matter
Exactly.
if poison, no matter if not poison, there's so many ways how you could take the spider and take it out of nature without getting bitten or whatever. So it's just also so important, like where you live, the community, who you speak about around courses, around conservation, because like one of the work I have, they just want to kill the spider. There was one point where there come a huge spider in. The person wants to kill it. Like I pushed the person to the side. I was like, you do not kill the spider. I get so angry because it's just so interesting, like why people have this fear of spiders. Like I live in the jungle. There was also poison spider. Yeah, there was a possibility for me to get bitten. I was just like, okay, how can I respect the spider? How can you respect the spider? Learn about some tools, some action you could do so that you can take the spider out without getting bitten. And what do you get to face within yourself if you have so much fear for a spider? Like, where does that come from? It's not about the spider, it's something within yourself that's really coming from the past. So as Mark was sharing about, it's really start with you. Courses really start with you. If you're afraid of a spider or want to kill a spider, just when you talk about spider, because it's also a picture into like orangutan, the elephants, the apes, the monkeys is just when you talk about spider, it's also other animals, it's just spider. Like what do you get to work within yourself so that you can coexist with the spider that come into your home or you meet on the way. The same with the other animals, like start with a spider and look inside within yourself to start to accept the spider have is living here. How can you work with it so that you put out where it belongs instead of you just kill it because you get afraid for it? And it's not about the spider, it's something within yourself that's coming from the past that's with human.
Yeah, so sorry if actually you were maybe people who are here with us, you were maybe thinking we would speak about orangutan. We end up speaking about spider, but actually, here again, it's about the process, it's about the mindset.
Excellent.
We won't save orangutan unless people all over the world are ready to accept this coexistence. This is
Yeah,
what I think.
exactly.
Here, of course, we work with local communities, we work with the oil palm plantation to promote coexistence with orangutan, with elephants, even with crocodiles who are taking people here. But it's the same everywhere. And if this mindset, we cannot change it at our specific level, at the level of our species, yeah, it will
Yeah.
be difficult. But that's why, to me, the hope is that everybody can make a difference. It will take time, maybe, to convince other people, but this is where conservation starts. It starts at home.
It's awesome.
So
I
this
love
was,
that. It starts at home. So where can people follow you, Mark, and Hutan, like your amazing organizations? Like where can they find information? Where can they follow you? Like please share about that.
yeah, so we have a website, we have all of this. Right now, social media are in the process of getting started again. So, but yeah, please reach out if you want. Go to our website. We have a lot of publication, a lot of facts about orangutan and stuff. IUCN is also a good source of information because at IUCN, scientists are publishing facts. We don't take just facts. Yeah, and reach out. Here again, what we said to you, what we discussed earlier with Tanja, I mean, reach out. Try to find the truth in all what you hear. Yeah, it's I think what we can do all of us for any subject. It's super important now, especially with all this media, social media. I mean, sometimes we are completely lost. We don't know where is the truth. And to me, this is a threat for actually not only the biodiversity, but for us as well. But it's a different topic altogether. But yeah, finding out what are the truth is really important. What are the facts? After that, you can form and create your own opinion, but at least it has to be based on real facts and not on facts that are already interpreted by other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much to you. The scene is amazing and to you. All information you need to know about Hutan is below this video. And to you, Marc, thank you so much for bottom of my heart to really like share about like the way it's coexist, start with home. I really love that because everything starts at home, everything starts within so that we can coexist or choose to coexist because it is a choice. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that and being a person in the front that is talking about why it's so important to be educated and look for the facts or get connected with organizations that work in the field.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. I think it's very important, the work you do too. I mean, we are speaking about spreading fact. This is one way to do it. So I don't know how many of you are following this discussion, but I think for those of you who have been following us, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully you found this interesting. Thanks, Tanja, for organizing it. I know it has been a bit tricky, but at last we did it. I'm very pleased to have met all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marc. See you out there.
Okay.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.